Subscribe to my YouTube channel, because what you're about to hear will pull at your heart, twist your emotions, and make you wonder, what would you do if you were her? 6 years ago, Elena stood in the pouring rain outside the luxurious headquarters of Lee Group, clutching a resignation letter in one hand and a shattered heart in the other. Her white blouse clung to her skin. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but she didn't wait for anyone to come after her. Especially not him. Adrian Lee, CEO, billionaire, cold, calculating, and the father of the child growing inside her, Then he didn't believe her. He called her a gold digger, a liar, an opportunist. He said she was using pregnancy to trap him. And worst of all, he let someone else feed him those lies. He watched her walk away, never once asking her to stay. And she did walk away, far away, disappearing like a ghost, carrying his child and 1,000 pieces of her broken pride. But time doesn't stop. Wounds heal, and people change. Now 6 years later, the doors of Lee Group swing open again. The city buzzes with whispers. Who is the woman in the sleek black dress with that little boy holding her hand? Her steps are calm, her eyes unreadable. The same woman who once begged for a moment of truth is back. But she's no longer the assistant who ran coffee and stayed late just to get a smile from the boss. She's a successful designer now. The founder of a growing fashion label, making international headlines. And the boy by her side, he's 5, sharp eyes, dimpled smile. And yes, he has Adrian Lee's unmistakable gaze. Adrian hears the rumors first. A client laughs in a meeting. Your ex-assistant, she's back in the city. Some say she has a son, and he looks just like you. At first, he brushes it off. Impossible, he thinks. But then he sees her, at a charity gala, across the room, wearing that midnight blue dress. And for a second, the world tilts. He forgets the woman on his arm. He forgets the years in between. All he sees is her, and a little boy, peeking out shyly from behind her. He walks up to them, tries to say something, anything, but she just smiles politely. Mr. Lee, she says like a stranger. Hope you're enjoying the evening. No trace of the past. No hint of emotion. Not even anger. And that's what hits him hardest. He can't sleep that night. He pores over old emails, photos, surveillance footage, anything that might show him what he missed, what he destroyed. Guilt starts to sink in like poison. He remembers the day she told him she was pregnant, how scared she looked, how desperately she wanted him to believe her, and how he turned away, chose his pride, believed someone else. Now for the first time in years, Adrian wants something he can't buy, can't demand, and can't control. A second chance. But Elena has changed. She's not the girl who waited for his love. She doesn't need his money, his company, or his protection. She built a life without him. She raised their son alone. Every sleepless night, every scraped knee, every first word. He missed it all. Still, Adrian wants to try. He sends flowers. She returns them. He sends gifts for the child. They come back unopened. He shows up at her office. She refuses to see him. But then one evening, their son, Liam, goes missing from school for a brief moment during pickup. Panic spreads. Elena rushes through the gates, only to find Liam in the arms of the man she once loved, now kneeling with tears in his eyes, hugging the boy like he's something fragile and precious. Why didn't you tell me? Adrian whispers, his voice shaking. Elena's expression doesn't soften. She just takes Liam's hand and says, because you didn't ask. And that's the thing about broken trust. It doesn't come back with an apology, or even tears, but Adrian is not giving up. Not this time. He starts showing up, not just for her, but for Liam. Soccer games, school events, not as a CEO, but as a man trying to make up for 6 lost years. Slowly, cracks begin to show in Eleanor's armor. Liam warms up to him, starts asking questions. Why did Daddy leave us? Did he not love you, Mommy? Elena doesn't have answers, only memories, and hurt, but just when things seem like they might heal, someone from the past returns, the very person who destroyed their love in the first place. And this time, the lies they carry might not just break Elena's heart, but tear apart everything she's rebuilt. What will Elena choose? Revenge or forgiveness? And will Adrian prove that he's not the man he used to be? The past is back, the stakes are higher, and this story is just beginning. The morning after the gala, Elena stood by her apartment window, watching Liam play with his toy car on the floor. He was humming softly to himself, completely unaware of how the world outside was slowly shifting. She hadn't slept much, not because of the media attention following their appearance at the event, but because of the way Adrian had looked at their son, like he'd seen a ghost, like he'd realized something too late. 6 years ago, when she walked out of his life, she promised herself she wouldn't look back. And for the most part, she hadn't. She focused on survival, on building her own brand, on raising Liam with love and stability. She had cried in silence, celebrated his milestones alone, and told herself over and over that they were better off without Adrian Lee. But now he was back, not just as a shadow from the past, but as a man trying to squeeze into a life that had learned to live without him. She didn't know what scared her more, that he wanted to stay, or that part of her wanted to let him. Meanwhile, Adrian sat in his office, staring at a photo on his desk, not of a business deal or some fancy event, but of a child's drawing. Liam had handed it to him the day before, a sketch of 3 stick figures. Me, Mommy, and Daddy, it said in crooked letters. The drawing shouldn't have meant so much, but it did. It meant everything. He'd spent years telling himself he did the right thing, that Elena lied, that she left because she had something to hide. But now every certainty he clung to was crumbling. He'd been wrong about her, about the child, about everything. And the worst part, someone had wanted it that way. Back then, it was his assistant, Melissa Chen, who told him Eleanor had been secretly meeting another man. She'd shown him fake messages, staged photos, even doctored test results that claimed the baby wasn't his. Melissa was always calm, efficient, and loyal, so he believed her, without question, without listening to Eleanor. Now that same Melissa had suddenly returned to the city as if nothing had happened. She was working with a rival company and had scheduled a meeting with his board, claiming she had information that could change the company's future. Elena found out through her assistant. Melissa's coming back, she said, over coffee one morning. She's stirring things up again. Elena didn't flinch, but her hands tightened around the mug. She knew Melissa was the reason Adriana doubted her. And if Melissa was still willing to lie, she could destroy more than just reputations. She could pull Liam into a storm of secrets he didn't deserve. The conflict wasn't just personal anymore. It was layered with business, legacy, and betrayal. Adrian tried to warn Elena. He showed up at her boutique, this time not in a suit, but with a tired look and a clear message. She wants to ruin you, he said. I won't let that happen. Elena narrowed her eyes. You let it happen 6 years ago. I know, he whispered, and I'll spend every day proving I'm not that man anymore. She wanted to believe him, but trust doesn't rebuild overnight, and pain doesn't just vanish with apologies. To protect Liam, Elena started digging. She met with an old journalist, friend, requested surveillance records from her former apartment, and even found an old voicemail Melissa had left on a forgotten backup phone. One message changed everything. Adrian thinks the baby isn't his. Good. I made sure of it. Her hands shook as she played it again. This wasn't just about revenge. Melissa had gone out of her way to sabotage Elena's life. And now she was back with something even darker planned. Meanwhile, Liam had started asking more questions. Why don't you and Daddy live together? Did you stop loving each other? Elena tried to explain in simple words. Sometimes people make mistakes, and those mistakes take time to fix. Liam nodded, but one night he asked something that broke her. If Daddy says sorry, will you forgive him? She didn't know how to answer. As Melissa's planned board meeting approached, the tension grew. Adrian tried to prepare, but the damage Melissa could do wasn't limited to just business deals. She had personal files, photos from the past, and enough influence to plant doubts again. But what she didn't know was that this time, Elena wasn't alone. At the company headquarters, the day of the board meeting arrived. The conference room filled with high-ranking officials, shareholders, and press representatives. Melissa entered with confidence. Dressed like a queen, returning to her throne, she smiled at Adrian. Did you miss me? He ignored the taunt. Let's get started. Melissa began her presentation. False reports of misuse of funds. Confidential messages she twisted out of context. And finally, a forged email implying Elena had tried to steal from the company. Whispers filled the room, eyebrows raised. Then, just as Melissa prepared to unveil her final claim, the doors burst open. Elena walked in, calm and collected, holding a small recording device. If you're going to tell stories, she said, at least let me tell mine. Gasps filled the room. Adrian stood, his chest tightening. He hadn't known she'd come. Elena pressed play. Melissa's old voicemail echoed through the room. Adrian thinks the baby isn't his. Good. I made sure of it. Silence followed. A deadly choking silence. Melissa's face drained of color, and just as the tension reached its peak, the screen behind her flickered. Security footage from 6 years ago began to play. Melissa entering Elena's apartment. While she was out, swapping files, stealing test results, the entire sabotage laid bare. The boardroom erupted. Some shouted, some stood in shock, but Elena stayed quiet. Her eyes met Adrian's. I didn't come here for revenge, she said, softly. I came for the truth. And just like that, the entire foundation of their past began to shake. But the storm wasn't over yet, because as Melissa was escorted out, she turned back and hissed. You think this is over? You haven't seen anything yet, and no one in that room knew. She was right. The days that followed the board meeting were a whirlwind. Melissa's abrupt removal from the company shook the very core of the organization. But her departure wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of the storm she had promised would come. Elena knew this wasn't over. Melissa would do whatever it took to destroy her, to take Adrian back, and to tear their family apart again. Adrian, on the other hand, was finally starting to understand the weight of his actions. He had believed the lies, trusted the wrong people, and in doing so, had pushed away the only woman who had ever truly loved him. But he wasn't about to let Elena slip through his fingers again. Not this time. Not after everything that had happened. He called her every day, sent messages, and even showed up at her boutique, hoping she'd let him explain, hoping she'd give him a chance to prove he wasn't the same man he once was. But Eleanor was cautious, careful. She wasn't ready to let him back into her life, not without knowing he was fully committed to the truth. She had already given him everything once, and he had thrown it away. This time, He would have to earn it. Then, one evening, as she prepared to close up shop, she received a message from Adrian that made her heart stop. It was simple, just a date, a time, and a place. The message read, "I'll be waiting at the old cafe we used to go to. Come when you're ready. I promise this will change everything." She hesitated, unsure whether to go, but deep down, she knew that if she didn't face this, they would never move forward. She had to know if he had truly changed. And so, she went. When she walked into the cafe, the soft hum of conversation faded into the background. There he was, sitting at a table, his back straight, his hands clasped in front of him. He stood as soon as he saw her, his eyes filled with both relief and desperation. "Sit down," he said softly. "I've got something important to tell you." Elena didn't sit. She stood there, her arms crossed, eyes steady. "Go ahead." He took a deep breath, then pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table to her. "This is everything. The real story. The truth about Melissa. And about me." Elena glanced at the envelope, but didn't touch it. "I've heard enough lies. Adrian, what could you possibly say now that would make a difference?" He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't expect you to forgive me. Not right now. But I need you to know something. I never stopped loving you. I was wrong. I'll spend every day for the rest of my life proving it." His words were heavy, but it wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. For the first time in years, Elena saw sincerity in his eyes. Still, she remained cautious. She reached for the envelope, carefully opened it, and began to read. The contents were shocking. Melissa's plans, her manipulations, and the years of lies. It wasn't just about sabotaging their relationship. She had been plotting to take down the company and destroy Adrian's reputation from the inside. Every move Melissa had made was part of a larger plan, one that Adrian had unknowingly walked right into. But the final page of the letter was what hit Elena the hardest. It was a simple note written in Adrian's handwriting. "I was wrong. About you. About everything. The baby is mine. Liam is mine. I missed 6 years of his life, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." Tears welled up in Eleanor's eyes as she read the words. This wasn't just an apology. It was the truth. The one thing she had been waiting to hear. "I can't change the past," Adrian continued, his voice cracking. "But I can be the man you and Liam deserve. Please, let me try." Elena sat down slowly, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. She had spent so long pushing him away, so long telling herself she didn't need him. But the truth was, she had always loved him. And deep down, she had always known he would come back, stronger, ready to fight for her. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she whispered, the words barely leaving her lips. "But I'm willing to try. For us. For Liam." Adrian's face softened, and he reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "We'll take it one step at a time. But I swear to you, Elena, I'll never give up on us." The next few weeks were filled with awkward conversations, healing, and rebuilding. Adrian made an effort to be present for Liam, slowly earning his trust. The bond between father and son grew stronger each day. Elena watched, her heart slowly thawing as she saw Adrian's determination. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a future together. As time passed, their relationship began to shift. They talked more, shared more, and worked through the issues that had torn them apart in the first place. But there were no grand gestures, no dramatic confessions. Instead, It was the small things. The way Adrian remembered her favorite coffee order. The way he played with Liam in the park. The way he held her hand just a little longer when they said goodbye. That made her believe in second chances. 6 months later, they stood together, watching Liam play in the yard. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over everything. Adrian wrapped his arm around Elena's waist and pulled her close. "I'm sorry it took me so long," he said softly. She smiled up at him, her heart full. "Me too. But we're here, now." And in that moment, as the past seemed to fade into the distance, Elena knew that the future was still theirs to write. Together,